Hey everyone, welcome to the History of Rap, episode 4. I'm your host, Bryce Shepard. To get things started, I just want to thank my last few guests, especially Ruggs from Rap Fam, with the great conversation that we had last week. And if you haven't checked that episode out, go back and check it out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, you name it. If there's a platform for it, it's probably out there somewhere. If there's not, if and you want it on that platform, let me know what it is, and I'll see what I can do. But this episode is actually brought to you by the Rap Fam Unleashed. It is the world's only dedicated raps magazine. So head on over to therapfam.com and subscribe today. Make sure don't miss an issue. Just do it. Go do it. It's a good read, great information in there. And like I said, Ruggs was great to come on and share a bunch of information. Also, thank you to my past guests who are coming on and taking time to talk to me and share information and stories and things like that. I absolutely love it. Um, with that being said, if you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, please don't be afraid to reach out at the is it just history of rap? Yeah, history of rap at gmail.com. No the in there. So history of rap at gmail.com, and just put in the subject line podcast guest, and I'll get to it, and we'll put something on the schedule. So far, a few of you have come back and reached out to me, and I got a couple on the books. So hopefully, we'll be we'll just keep this thing going for as long as we can, couple of months, and we're good to go. So our next guest today is going to be Conrad Coe of Exotic Vehicle Wraps. He is the production manager and co-owner of Exotic Vehicle Wraps in Sterling, Virginia, and we're going to talk about uh, a bunch of stuff. Really training, how to get started, things like that. And I really can't wait to talk to him and really dive into it and share it with you guys. So let's go.
My man.
Yo,
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Awesome, man. Glad you're here.
Dude, glad to be here, man. Thank you so much.
Awesome. You're welcome. Good meeting you as well. Sorry, I've got a couple little things. I usually try to double record my audio. At least if I lose mine, then I have a backup of it.
Yeah, of course. Take your time,
So
dude.
we're I wasn't going to, and I was like, I probably should.
No, that's wild because that's exactly what I'm doing. I have the
Yeah.
exact same the roads and it's right there. I was like,
Yeah,
yeah, it just in case we got scratch audio, let's do it.
exactly. Exactly. Nice. So I just did my intro. Um so we're
Wonderful.
good there. And I'll edit that in so I don't have to do that here. But no, I'm glad you reached out. This is awesome. I was actually watching a few of your videos um earlier today just to kind of like educate myself about you, because I what's funny is I had seen a few of them. I think we connected through Facebook or something, just kind of on a whim, and I was like, oh, who's
Yeah.
this guy, and started watching some of your stuff, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is he's got really good, that company has really good online presence and things like that. So it's like he'd be someone good to talk to. So I'm glad you reached out. This is
Yeah, thanks, man.
this is
Thanks. It was
awesome.
one of those things, you join one group and then you see all these people recommended and you're like, dude, 49 people like
Yeah.
mutual, like how have I never Yeah, no, that's getting an ad friend, man,
Hmm.
Dude, yeah, no, I love it. I've been listening to all of them. I love it because there is maybe a couple podcasts out there for us,
Hmm.
you know. So I just devour any content I can get.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's I really like it. When John and Blake did theirs,
Hmm.
I got really on board with theirs and was and started kind of eating it up. And there's just really not a lot out there. And this was
No.
something that I wanted to do a few years back, and I kind of started it, and then it fell off. And I even started doing it years and years ago with a friend. Like, just we would sit down and just bullshit for
Yeah.
for an hour and talk about absolutely nothing. And we did a few, and we didn't like stay on top of it.
Yeah.
So, but this is something I really, really enjoy doing, just talking to people, figured out. Now I have, before I didn't have any kind of guidance. I didn't know where I wanted to go with it, but now like I know, like I gotta know. I just want to talk to people. I want to network with people, figure out
Right.
what they do, where they're going, where they see the industry, where they've been, um, what kind of value they bring to the industry, especially overall, which is exactly what you and I are going to touch on, which
Yeah.
I'm really glad that you reached out, because I think we have a base to start on. And one of those things, we'll just we'll get right into it, is
Please.
a question that I hear a lot. And I work with younger guys who are kind of getting into the industry and stuff, and they the big question is, where do I start? What do
Yeah.
I do? How do I go about getting into doing this?
Yeah, man.
um and so at Exotic Vehicle Wraps, you guys turned your training program into something for the public,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah, and it took a long time for us to do that because there's a trepidation, right? Like anytime you have a close team and a process that you've developed from the ground up, the more you keep it inside the four walls, the easier it is for you to think like that's proprietary information. If we
Hmm.
let anyone else know about that, are we really special? And it's really easy to fall into that trap. So it took us about 5 years to make the switch into this is our thing and this is what sets us apart and this is a big component to our success into wait a second, we're seeing the industry explode, and now we have competitors around us just 2 miles down the road who are producing this quality of work that's like, what? They pop up in 3 months and they're gone in 2 years. And so how do we get them to pop up in 3 months, but then elevate the industry? So it took about 2 years of convincing to release our internal training to the public, and then about 3 years to dial that process in. We did a lot of beta testing. We had wrap shop guys come in. We had commercial dudes, architectural, tint, just a ton of cross-skilled people come over and just rip us a new asshole, pardon the expression, but show us where this is wrong. And so that helped us refine our internal process so that we don't have to rely on a new candidate to our company already having prior knowledge, which is, in some senses, the actual barrier of entry. So, to go back to that first question, how do you start? If you, Brice, were someone who was interested in the rap industry, right? Like we all, when you and I first started, the internet wasn't uh, flooded with dope ASMR videos of people demonstrating vinyl's memory, right? We didn't have easy access to sources like the Rap Institute or Rap IQ or podcasts like this. We had to kind of put our ass out there and just buy vinyl and stick it to stuff. Anything. Bowling balls, your PlayStation, your grandma's cutlery. Like it didn't matter. We just had to stick stuff to stuff. The other entry for people who have been in the industry, I'd say 10 plus years, were sign shops. That also got your hands on vinyl. But now there's this trepidation for kids who've been sticking stuff on their buddy's Toyota Tercel to walk into a shop like mine, like Oliver Twist with a bowl in their hand saying, please, sir, can I lay vinyl on that Lamborghini? It's intimidating. Um, the best way that I feel a start should be would identify what value you can bring to a wrap shop and know that that's not in laying vinyl all the time. We make money in 1,000 different ways. And I'm personally willing to train somebody who comes in and says, I know nothing about vinyl, but I can detail the hell out of a car. I can prep a car. I can ceramic coat a car. Phenomenal. I can get you paying for yourself in 2 weeks' time, right? Because that's the risk. Um, you can watch stuff on YouTube and get a pretty good sense of the right techniques without application. So you can know if this is for you, but walking into a shop, you have to consider the shop's liability in you, right? Like in this example, Brice, you're a dude who walked in the door. You've seen a lot of the famous YouTubers out there, some great, some bad, and you're like, yeah, I want to try this as a career. And so you ask me for 18 bucks an hour. All right. I have to pay you that $18 an hour. And then I have to pay for the mistakes. And then I have to pay for the opportunity lost while one of my guys train you. But if you come in and tell me I'm going to take care of your trash, I'll make sure the bathrooms are cleaned. The front of house is always going to look dope. The vinyl's going to be organized and I'll ceramic coat cars. You've taken that liability away. Now I have a value to have you in here that's worth $18 an hour to me. You picking up the trash means my guys don't have to do it, means they're on the cars longer. So they're more efficient. You taking care of the front of the house is a better first impression. You ceramic coating cars, now you're not operating in the red, you're in the black. I know I'm rambling, but there are there are a lot of ways to get into the industry that let you skip a couple rungs on the ladder. You know, you can walk into a shop like mine. You don't have to go to a mom and pop sign shop and learn how to run Heidelberg presses, or whatever it is for 5 years like I did and toil your way into it. You can walk right into my shop and ask for a job as long as there is a value there.
Yeah, I think that's something that's really really important, and especially a lot of young people now, they don't realize, they want to get their hands on, they want instant gratification. And I, for all intents, I was very very guilty of that
Yeah,
back when I was in my 20s. Obviously, I mean, we all
totally.
are. We want to see, whatever it is, just done. We want to see the point A to point B, and we don't want to take any other steps to get there.
Of course.
You
Human
know,
nature, right?
yeah, exactly. But looking back, 20 years in the industry or whatever, like you realize like you can't get from point A to point B without taking a million more steps
Dude, there's
in between.
A1, A2,
Yeah,
A3. Like it is a grind to get to quote unquote the upper echelon or like the next level, right? You can't be doing your buddy's chrome delete and then expect to lay on a Huracan.
right.
You just can't do that. But you will still get that sense of gratification. It does still scratch the same itch laying on a Honda Odyssey.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It
It
doesn't
it
matter.
really doesn't. It doesn't matter if it's an F-150 or if it's it does, or an Isuzu box truck. Like
Totally.
it's still the same thing. A lot of the people that I know, like, so I have a 9 to 5 job, and basically I'm kind of in manufacturing.
Mhm.
So we're doing the same thing over and over and over and over all day long. We have a
Yeah,
team of 8 or 9 people, but that's the redundancy that they get really just like, oh my god, and we're doing the same kind of trucks and stuff. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be the exact same. But it's that mindset of knowing, okay, I'm going to go in, I'm going to do the best thing that I can. Even though
yeah,
I'm doing the same thing I did yesterday, I'm going to crush it out, and then I'm going to find something else to do to make myself more valuable.
totally.
And that's something that is really, and you can't teach that.
Yeah,
Like that is a mindset that cannot be taught. Is
agreed.
that hunger, that desire to do more and to be the best you can be.
Exactly right. There's two amazing points you brought up is that desire to be more than you can be portion of it in any industry, but specifically ours, where you are required to be a self-starter, right? I'm
Mm,
going to tell you the job and the parameters and how much time you got. The rest is on you.
yeah,
So you're always balancing internally the struggle between motivation or ability. Anytime something goes wrong, it's because of one of those two categories. Either you're not upskilled enough to tackle that project, right? Maybe the inlays are just a little too complex for you or something like that. Or it's that motivation, is that hunger there?
Mhm.
If it's a 9 to 5 and you go home and you're not on the Rap Institute, you're not consuming education from reliable sources, which is a very like anyone can film themselves wrapping a car and put it on
Yeah.
YouTube. And I
Yeah.
will watch it, dude. I will. But I'm also the guy being like, show it to me in 3 months. That's never gonna work. I'm also that guy, but I know. So you can watch people do things the wrong way, but there is homework. It does need to get into your bones. And to that point, the other thing that you brought up was you can't teach some of these things. There, there is a thing that I don't think is publicly talked about enough in the industry, which is intrinsic ability.
Mm.
I've been in sign design, production, and wrapping now for almost 15 years. And I got guys here who have forgotten more about laying cards than I will ever learn in my entire life. They're just, they have a better intrinsic ability than I do. They will get from A to B faster than me. And I see it in these training classes. There's no better example than in these training classes, especially the foundation class where you have people who come in and whether you go a training class through us or Avery, PDAA, wherever it is, I first think that's the right move, right? Invest in yourself. But you have one guy with zero ability and another guy with zero ability. And if I have you lay a fender, you will easily see who has a different level of intrinsic ability that just can't be taught. Someone will, the vinyl will speak to somebody a lot clearer than it will someone else. And you can tell the moment you watch someone touch vinyl and lay it, the moment you see him pick up their squeegee, you can see a comfort. You can see of this relationship where you're like, it took me 2 years to develop that relationship. How are you already understanding how to do these things? Son of a bitch. Took me 2 years to do that, and
Yeah. Well,
you're doing it.
the technology of the vinyl has a lot to do with that. If
Absolutely.
that's huge. I mean,
Hmm.
we didn't have that kind of tech. I mean, I learned on the original. Um, it was the very first time I wrapped my car. It was on just the 3M control tack.
Sure.
It was matte black.
Yep.
Back before everyone was doing, back before anyone was doing matte black.
Yeah.
So I was in my town. I was the only person driving around with a matte black car, and it
Look at you,
broke
trendsetter.
broke head, broke necks.
Yeah.
But that was God. It took me a week to do it, and there was like two of us, and
Hmm.
it was an easy car to do. Like
Yeah.
now, I'd have been like, oh, I'd do that in 2 days.
Yeah.
You
It drives
know.
me crazy when I hear installers complain about 2080.
Hmm.
My installers, where I'm like, are you kidding? I knew so little when I first started. I was just hungry to do it
Yeah.
that I was using sign vinyl. I
Oh
did it.
God,
I
yeah.
did it in 751, or 651 if the color was out, and I was like, "This is how it's supposed to be." So I was there with a needle, just popping bubbles left, right, and center. Like, geez,
Yeah.
I was Captain Imposter Syndrome for the first 2 years. So, yeah, I'm right there with you. The technology does make a difference, but when you put an installer at my level, whatever that may be, right? Someone who's very comfortable and has hundreds, if not thousands, of color changes under their belt, next to someone at the same level, uh, you when I touch the vinyl and when they touch the vinyl, you can see immediately how they handle themselves, their efficiencies, their order of operations, the way that their tool bag is set up sometimes. You can just tell that installer has their shit squared away. They're not looking, they know where that pick is. They know, and they put it right back like a gunslinger. So there is a comfort that is just intrinsic to some people. They were just made to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think a big part of the industry, especially with new people, and I see it all the time, is it's there are so many people now when they get into it, they are afraid to fail or
Mm,
they're afraid to make a mistake.
Yeah.
And they don't what they don't realize, and it doesn't matter how many times you tell somebody, listen, it's okay to make a mistake, or it's okay to not see like you're going to put a just a huge wrinkle,
Hmm.
in it or whatever,
Hmm.
because if you do 90% of the time, it's fixable.
Totally.
You, and having that, trying to explain that to somebody, and it really hoping that it clicks for them is absolutely huge. I mean, there's only been a handful of people in my career that I just haven't been able to train because they can't get over that, oh my gosh, what if I make a mistake? And
Yeah.
they're just terrified to
Yeah.
make a mistake, but because they don't understand that making mistakes is the only way that you're going to learn.
That's it, man.
And you
Absolutely.
have to see, okay, well, what if I heat this too much and pull it too much? What's it going to do?
Hmm.
I got to
Yeah.
be able to see it the next day or the next hour or in the next 3 weeks to see what actually happened. I
Yeah.
need to be able to take off the vinyl that I laid 6 months ago, and I need to inspect it before I remove it to see how it held up. And then, and make notes and things like that,
Hmm.
it's those little details and that willingness to really judge yourself
Yeah.
that is going to make you a better installer, and or a better employee
Yeah.
at the end of the
A
day.
100%. If my guys um ever were to make a mistake, which of course every day they're making 100 mistakes, right? That is absolutely a part of it. We have part of this training that we keep internal. It's not what we teach out there. We preach it, but it's not part of a hands-on, skill share or anything. Is every day for your first 90 days when you work here. I don't care if you're an A plus killer. I don't care if this was John Duver, Jim Miller. I don't care. You owe me 10 questions every day. It doesn't matter, whether you think you know everything or not. Just 10 questions. It can be about something you did today, something in the industry you're curious about, but you are required for 90 days to ask me 10 questions. And we take an hour at the end of the day and we answer those questions for you. You keep it. And at your 90 days, I take that notepad, I type all those questions up, and you answer all those questions. And the only way that you really learn anything or understand that you did actually retain this knowledge, in my opinion, in this process, is when you get that sheet of paper back and you're like, oh my God, on day one, I was asking what the hell a air egress is. What's that pattern back there? I can't believe. And you can track your progress that way. Well, now all of my guys just carry notebooks. I had one guy um, who's been installing here for about 5 years. Love him. He's like family. And he was sitting there on a GT4 and he had a scrap piece of vinyl and he was just heating it up on the quarter panel and doing different squeegee strokes. And I was like, what are you doing, my man? And he was sitting there making notes. And he was like, I found that the glue lines are caused by this, but if I heat it this way, I get that glue line. And he was just sitting there making notes and observations, just messing up a piece of vinyl, making glue lines before he went to lay the panel. Like, so you must absolutely not only make mistakes, but if you're a business owner, if you're a shop owner, you have to allow them to make the mistakes. And that's not only saying, I give you permission to make mistakes, I'm not going to come down on you, but then holding up to your end of the bargain and not coming down on them. Because how you react to the mistake is going to influence how they respond to the mistake. If that same guy made a massive glue line. We have no more material. Client's picking up tomorrow. He's gonna try to sweep that under the rug. If every time he makes a mistake, I'm all up in his shit, talking to him about labor percentage and margin and blah, blah, blah. I can't believe,
Hmm. Yeah.
he'll never tell me, man. He just won't. And he's not going to feel comfortable to then try to experiment and find his own way. And unless he does, he'll never have his own signature as an installer. He'll never find himself in the work. And
Yeah.
it's at that point where you start actually installing, when you can find yourself in the work. I can look at these cars and look at the corners and tell you which one of my installers made that corner, you know. And that's translating that aspect to someone who's never touched vinyl is exactly why it took us 3 years to to put that on paper in a way that we can, in 3 days, get that across to somebody, how important that relationship is. Um, but yeah, you hit the nail on the head. You got to make those mistakes.
So what excuse me. So your training program, you've you made it into an acronym. Every single
Yes.
letter
Yes.
has a, just like, core, core values to a business,
Exactly right.
things like that. So tell me a little bit. So because I'm curious, honestly, like I am a huge proponent for training, continuous education, always, literally never stop learning. You
Hmm.
know,
Absolutely.
it's very funny. Well before the Rap Institute was ever a thing, when MySpace was this thing, if I could go back and find my original page, I had on there like never stop learning,
Yeah.
and then I get into the rap industry, and Justin comes out with the Rap Institute, and he uses never stop learning as a trademark,
Hmm.
slogan. And I was like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But that was, so I'm a huge proponent of that. And so you claim on your videos that
Mhm.
your program is coming at training and continuous education from a completely different angle.
Yeah.
So how does your program differentiate itself from the, the manufacturer, the 3M, the Avery, the
Mhm.
Orfold, KPMF, or, someone like, or even like the elite rappers, like, whatever it may be. How is your program differentiating itself? Whether it be from the install side or from the
Mhm.
business side, or, tell me about that.
Yeah.
And tell me
So
what would you call it? Start from the beginning.
it's called Race Ready. And the acronym that you spoke of is RACE, and that stands for reliability, accountability, consistency, and efficiency. So the our training isn't a substitution for the other training programs that are out there at all. It's more of a supplementation to it. Um, so if you were to go to the Avery course, which I've done, and it's phenomenal, um, you will learn excellent installation techniques, and you'll learn them the right way. I've done the training with Justin. I've done the training with John. Um, they're both teaching things the right way, right? So credit where credit's due. We're not saying that what we're doing is in any way better than theirs, but it does add a twist to it. The installation side now is, in our opinion, only half of the game. Having been in the industry myself for 15 years and this company for 15 years, the other half of that is the installer. Like we were talking about before, how they establish that first relationship with the vinyl, how they are looking at customer service, their client's experience, who the customer is, because it's really easy to go off on a little tangent to say, well, what do you mean, who's the customer? Of course, it's the guy or girl, the man or woman who's paying for the work. But in some instances, that car is your customer. Your boss is your customer. Your company is your customer. If you're a subcontractor, you're your own customer, and the car is your customer, and the guy paying for it is your customer. So, Race Ready is a way to say, how can we produce these results reliably? And what do we mean by reliably? Right? So, don't go to one of the millions of people who hit you up in your DMs from China talking about top best 100 vinyl company to buy it. Go to the right source to buy that stuff. And then learn the right techniques so that your installs are reliable. When it comes to accountability, That's to yourself, to your client, to your team, speaking up when you make those mistakes, following up with your client, making sure that they know that's my work on the car and I'm going to stand behind it. Is how's everything going? We'd love to see the vehicle in. It's been about 3 months, et cetera, right? So holding yourself accountable to your own standard. The consistency piece is producing consistent results, obviously, but teaching them how to know how do you even get a consistent result if this is your first time touching vinyl? So, excuse me for 1 second. It's going around, man. It's February. So, taking photos and making sure that if you're my client, Brice, and you bring me that GT4 or whatever, and I have 4 days to do it in, I'm going to be taking photos of every panel that I'm doing so that the next time it comes in, I know the standard that I have to hit. I've promised you it will be a paint-like finish. And if I've achieved that, I will take photos of that. And I'm going to keep that as a record. And then with efficiency, I'm going to time every single panel every time. And at first, I'm not trying to hit a number, right? I'm not going to walk up to a fender and say, I got to bang this out in 30 minutes because I've been doing it for so. No, I don't care. If I've never touched that car, I don't care if it takes me 4 hours. I'm going to set a time and I'm going to look at my process and determine what about this fender took me 4 hours to do and what can I do to make that better. And at each iteration, there are hands-on portions that we have developed to go over how that translates into these techniques for efficiency, starting with the hardest thing, working to the easiest thing last, how to get the right tension so that when we touch it with a heat gun, we're not stretching vinyl, we're shaping the vinyl. We're letting the vinyl do 80% of the work. So how we can build these things into it. And then the last day is free play because that's why I go to every certification class because I just want to burn through your material because it didn't cost me anything. I want to try stuff. I saw this thing. Let's walk through that. So in one of the videos, it's a foundation class, but we're laying a rear bumper. We're doing fenders. Those are on that last free day where you've seen people doing things, mirrors. You have questions about that. How do I know how big to make my inlay? Let's talk about those things and incorporate them into the race ready model.
So are you also teaching a little bit of the, because I mean, and in the last episode, Ruggs made uh, a a good statement about like so many of us in this industry are accidental entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
So are you teaching anything in your training program about how to like steps to start your business or steps to qualify customers or um you know f- following up with them? You said that's part of the accountability thing.
Yep.
Are you teaching things like that so then that way when someone does start or they go home and whether or not they're installing in their garage or if they have a small space or whatever, they don't feel as lost or alone as they would had they not had any kind of information?
Yeah. Awesome question. No. And yes.
Okay.
I care about the installer. I want to create people in this industry who are just as passionate about this industry as you and I, and who are, as a subjective term, doing things the right way. They're not out there sticking stuff to stuff that wants stuff to be stuck to it for
Hmm.
money, right? And so, in that sense, it is purely installer focused. We do not teach you how to start a business and be an entrepreneur. I teach you how to be a phenomenal installer in this industry first, because that other part has to come afterwards. It can't work the other way around and expect you to have success and longevity in this industry. It's moving too fast and there are too many killers. So
Hmm.
you have to have that first. However, if your goal is to you go to a training class because your goal is either to work in a shop, to own a shop, or to be your own boss, right? Like you're going to be a sub, you're going to work for me, or you're going to end up starting a company. So you do need to know how to provide the client with this visceral experience that they're after. That is a major key to success. It's not just that the installation is flawless. That is more important, in my opinion, right? Your work has to be excellent, but we don't sell coffee filters. This is not something where the typical client is going to come in and say, wow, phenomenal. I'll see you in a month when I buy a new car. So, in order to have that success and longevity, you do need to know how to set the right expectation and to deliver on the right experience and what follow-ups can do for you so that you do have repeat business.
Mhm.
We're very fortunate in that probably about 65% of our return, we have about a 65% return rate. So we do get to see the same people over and over again. But I guarantee you, if we were running this like we did back in the day out of our parents' garage, off of a dirt road, and it was a wham bam, thank you, ma'am, but the work was phenomenal, that number would be significantly lower. So I think it's irresponsible to not also teach how you need to perform this in order to service the client, not just the car and your own ego, because
Mhm.
that can also happen sometimes. Ego and pride wrapping is definitely a thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we don't go into the business side of it. The Race Ready pipeline has the foundation, the advanced, and the apex courses. And the apex courses are for purely the business owners, those people who have been subcontracting for the longest time and now they do want their own shop, because that's a whole nother ball of worms, man. That now we're talking SOP, KPIs, we're talking how to monitor labor percentages and margins and market share. And there's a lot to running a wrap shop that's specific to a wrap shop. We'd be doing it a disservice if we covered that in a foundation course over 3 days,
Mhm.
you know.
But you do have, so if I understand
Hmm.
you right, you do
Hmm.
have those different levels. So if you have,
Absolutely.
my name's Bill. I've never picked up a squeegee before, but I went to a car meet on Saturday and I went, that's the coolest looking Corvette I've ever seen. I want to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to come to your course and you're going to teach me how to lay vinyl.
Yeah.
Or I've been doing this for 2 or 3 years, but I've been doing mostly commercial work, and now I wanna kinda get my hands on some color change stuff, but I don't know if it's different. I don't know how, you have something for them,
Exactly.
and then you also have something. I've been doing this for much longer.
Hmm.
I've been working in a shop for X amount of years or whatever. I feel like I'm ready to move on and do something for myself.
Yep.
Okay, what are the next steps? You have
Yes.
something for those people as well.
Exactly. And there's also um, another category which we're fortunate enough to have, which are really high valued employees who are ready to establish a career path within this company. So maybe ownership isn't on their mind. Um, they see me and Bobby and Nate going gray early from doing this. So maybe they don't want that and all the headache that entails, but they do want to take it to the next level, maybe become salaried manager. Maybe they want to be the production manager or, or a shop foreman or something like that. The Apex course is that it teaches you
Mhm,
how to see your employees more as maybe a human resource, how to manage people and get the best out of them, and then look at the numbers and see if that works. So there is a pipeline, and within each um, different level of the Race Ready program, there are gatekeepers. One thing that we found from doing almost every cert under the sun is there isn't a gatekeeper. If I go to an advanced class, anyone and their mother can join, and there's a warning that says, "Yo, this is an advanced class." But uh, if I had never, Bill, I'm glad you saw that Corvette,
mhm,
but you can sign up for an advanced class, and go and take it, and that's great. And that puts two different pressures. Um, One, it puts a pressure on the trainer in that class. And I've seen a trainer in a class have to call audibles left, right, and center. No, I can't show that. I can't do that hands-on because half of my class will never understand the processes that that requires. And I've seen the opposite, where I've been in a foundation, like a beginner's training course, and I've seen dudes that I've seen at SEMA, you know, rapping in booths, like bored out of their minds. And I'm thinking, what a waste of money. I'm looking at it from a business owner's perspective. So to get into the advanced class, there is a questionnaire. How long have you been rapping? We do expect specific criteria. I expect you to be familiar enough with vinyl to where I can say the word positive tension and you're not scratching your head. Um, you know, uh, so there is a questionnaire there that acts as a prerequisite to make sure that we don't have to dumb down an advanced class to the lowest common denominator within that class, so that it isn't actually an advanced class.
Yeah.
And same with Apex. That one's a little different though. Almost anyone can take that Apex class because I can have a guy at a dealership who maybe wants to introduce that as a new vertical in his business. And so absolutely come on over into the Apex class and we'll teach you about the numbers of vinyl.
Gotcha. Um, so you said, I'm gonna go back. You said the word vertical tension or positive tension, excuse me, positive tension. And this kind of reminds me of something that I've had in the back of my brain, and I touched on it a little bit, I think, in one of the earlier episodes. But it came up when I went to the CWI advanced class. When we were there, we got a bunch of killers in the class. And we're all talking about just this and that, and one of the things that came up was, um, oh shoot, my brain went blank. Hold on, I'll have to edit this out.
Positive tension. No,
Yeah,
don't edit it
positive
out.
tension.
This is
No,
authentic.
I know. Oh my gosh.
We're getting to see the real Brice.
Standardization. Yeah, you just get to see
Yes.
my brain just stop.
Yeah.
Um,
Uncaffeinated Brice right
God,
now.
no, that's what this is right here. It's just all coffee. Uh, it's my second of the day. I got back from vacation yesterday. So I'm trying to get back into
Yeah.
taking my brain off of vacation mode.
Yeah, you're still half and half, half
I
here,
was
half
in
there.
yeah, I was in 70 and 80-degree weather for a week and on the beach, so it was nice. Sorry, but no, standardization. So this is something that I've been kind of thinking about. And sorry, I'm gonna put this on the other thing here that I'm uh standardization is something that I've been thinking about for the last few months, and not in terms of you have to do X every time you're doing it. Yeah, not because in our industry there's 1,000 different ways to do the exact same thing,
You
and it
got it right.
doesn't matter how you get there as long as the end result is quality, will hold up and your client is happy.
That's
Like
right.
that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter how you get from point A to B and how many steps you get there, because like you said, you and I can get there in different amount of steps, but it doesn't matter, because as long as the
Absolutely.
end result is fine. What I'm thinking of is standardization as in grammar, vocabulary,
Yep.
um, terms, even processes,
Hmm.
to some extent. Um, are you a proponent of that in
Thousand
terms
percent.
of like why can't we go, um, you know, why can't someone from the East Coast go to the West Coast and we talk about the exact same thing? Or why can't someone from 3M speak to someone from Avery and they're talking the exact same language? Now, for the most part, we have that.
Yep.
Justin and Rayner, and Marcos, they do a fantastic job of using the same terms over and over. And in part because of their reach, the rap industry has adopted a lot of the terms that they use.
Yes.
However, there are some manufacturers out there that will use a different term for the same thing,
Exactly right.
which
Yeah.
destroys me. It
It
hurts my brain.
100%, especially in the foundation class, any foundation class. It doesn't matter what it is. You need to know what these high level trainers are talking about. I sat there and watched. I'll call him out. I've told him this before to his face, so we'll be okay. I sat there and watched John Duver at an Avery course explain his process for how he was going to wrap this fender with an obstruction. Okay, there was something there on the fender, like a turn indicator, I think it was, or an emblem or whatever, and it was masterful, right? Like I think he's probably one of the best that I've seen at being able to explain what his process is. But I could understand that clearly and perfectly because we both speak the same language, right? Like if you tell me positive tension versus negative tension or pull to the character line, whatever, I'll pick up what you're putting down, but it's because I have a decade plus of experience doing it, right? We speak that language. Beginners don't. And there was a moment where I was just fascinated, like, damn, he is real. Like, my brain was like, this is what I would do next. And sure as shit, Duver is like, here's where we're going next. But I was looking at blank faces
Mhm.
because it was very jargony. So Race Ready has a glossary of terms, and that's in your handout. It
Nice.
doesn't make an attempt to standardize these things because we at this shop call something different from what Precision Wraps and Graphics in South Carolina call something at their shop, right? However, you do need to have an understanding of what I'm talking about. If I'm telling you I need to pull tension X, I'm going to hook the corner, right? I need to leave a tab here or whatever it is. I love the concept of standardizing these terms. Do we call it positive tension? Do we call this negative tension? Are we calling it cold pre-stretch, high pre-stretch, triangles, zero stretch, whatever it is? these are this is what it is. 90% of industries that are similar to ours, they already do that. We know what
Mhm.
the names of all of these tools are. Hand me the nippers, give me the ratchet spanner. We know what they are, not can I please get the wrap axe? Can I please get the flex
Stream. Yeah.
streams?
Flex stream. Yeah.
Can I get, give me
Or the
a
micro
pick.
squeegee.
The micro squeegee,
Is
yeah.
it that's what it is,
Can
but
I get the hang 10
yeah.
by Yellow Tools?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, so we
Sorry.
we do need to have some sort of standardization, absolutely. And I will also say that, you know, guys like Pate and Rayner and the Rap Institute, they have done a really good job because of their reach, but I think it's also important to remember that, eh, and I mean absolutely no disrespect, in a weird way, Pate taught me how to rap, right? Like I went there
Mhm.
to learn, but there is a marketing aspect to it,
Oh yeah.
right? The zero stretch matrix, and because we know our triangles, and because of this and that and the other thing. So I love the idea of standardizing it. I hate the idea of monetizing and monopolizing it. Um, I think it's a very big ask, though. I think that's a big hill to climb because saying the word positive tension or saying 1 inch chops, right? If I'm my 1 inch utility chop, that's as much of my vernacular as dude, So I am going to have resistance if at another shop if they're saying one thing and I'm saying another, and all of a sudden we standardize it. The way that my team communicates is specific to us, and it is part of our bond. These are, the little hanging a tab off of a corner, so we have a little something to pull and get around. We call those a lollipop because we cut
Mhm.
them into circles. And so if I'm across a shop and I'm like, "Hey, did you lollipop this? Because it looks pretty short." Everyone else is like, "What the fuck is this guy talking about?" But we know,
Right.
and So I'm more for standardization. I love the idea. I would love to see it happen. I would hate to lose that little bit of character that only exists in my shop.
I gotcha. I gotcha. But there is something to be said that, you know, being the father of something or being the inventor of something like
Yeah.
this comes from. I mean, and the one reason why I started thinking about it is because I went I went and got 3M certified, I don't know, last year or whatever. And that's where it kind of came from because they were using terms. And of course, like I knew what they were talking about
Hmm.
because obviously they're saying the term and doing it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, you mean XYZ or whatever. Um, so so I picked up on it right away, but then I thought to the why aren't we using the same terms? Like
Hmm.
in the medical field, like terms or processes are invented after the people who come up with them and it works and
Yep.
they've been around for hundreds of years. But then maybe that's what I was thinking. Maybe that's why we're still such a young industry
Hmm.
that we really haven't had time to throw the vinyl against the wall to see if it sticks,
Yeah, absolutely, man.
basically.
Yeah.
So I think that could be a part of it, but it doesn't mean that it can't start. Because just because again, you go to that CWI class that I went to, the Duver and Pate, they were talking, that class is very big on the rat matrix. Which is when you see it in person and you see pros who really have an understanding about it do it in person. It's one thing to watch a video on it. It's another thing to go do it in person and then get your
Totally.
hands on it and figure it out. Like
Totally.
it's life changing. It really
Yeah.
is. Makes your job so much easier. They came up with a term, goosing, goosing the vinyl. And I was just like, exactly. But
What
again,
is goosing the vinyl, dude?
exactly, dude. And it's literally just a way of, a way of heating it or you know, uh what 3M calls normalizing,
Hmm.
it's
Okay.
basically pre-shrinking.
Yep.
Okay. So
Yep. Yep.
and
Yep.
but then it's pulling it just a little bit. So, you pre-shrink or you zero stretch it basically.
Hmm.
You let it do what it's gonna do. You pull it over or hook it or whatever you're gonna do. But then after you do that, you literally pull it off and let it kind of go.
Yeah.
And you just kind of see it kind of go back to where it wants to go, and then you kind of finish. Um, and I don't think I described that well. Like anyone who's probably heard them or seen it happen, it's very hard to describe. You have to see it. It's
Right.
one of these like, oh, you're just going to goose it because you're just kind of literally pulling it and then letting the vinyl relax back to its natural state.
Right.
Um, but it's a part of the process within that wrap matrix, within that zero stretch process that they came up with. And what I don't know, somebody came up with that term, and I'm just like, that's beautiful. Like
Hmm.
that's something that everybody needs to know.
But there a really great point here though is that that's the installer coming up with it, not the
Hmm.
manufacturer.
Right.
That's like in manufacturing, right? In your 9 to 5, if you have a machine that was developed by installers, or excuse me, developed by the engineers, then it gets implemented onto the production floor and it had zero input from the people who actually are doing the job. It's probably going to suck, because you can't have the engineer tell the operator how to perform their job. The operator will always know. A 100 times out of 100, I know what I need to do this work. So
Hmm.
it does need to come from us, which is why we're still talking about triangles, which is why we're still, there's a picture of me on Facebook right now, zero stretching film,
Hmm.
like we're still doing those things because Pate, Duver, these guys are installers. They have the background and they've chosen to transition out of that. But hearing things like, especially 3M, I went on a 3-year odyssey scouring 3M patents just to figure out how they place control posts in their adhesive.
Hmm.
It's beautiful. But it made me realize like this is a conglomerate. They they could lose 1080 and 2080 and next year they wouldn't even feel the loss, right? So
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to let them dictate what we call this thing at a ground level, right? So and I've heard normalizing, and I have seen, you know, the zero stretch stuff and the wrap matrix done. I would follow the lead of a high level installer who commands the respect of the industry, right?
Hmm.
A Richie Days, you know, someone like that who says like, check this out. We just goose that vinyl a little bit and it pops back in. I'm going to come back to my shop and be like, let me show you how to goose vinyl, mother, you know, like
Yeah.
check this out. And that's how those things I think are going to get adopted. It'll be more pervasive if the manufacturers start it for sure. It'll
Yeah.
trickle down easier, especially 3M and Avery, who have such a strong influence in the minds of the beginners because of the training programs that they provide,
Hmm.
which are great. But I think it would be doing a disservice overall if it didn't come from the installers. And with Avery, I'll tell you, you know, and I know that those trainers are installers, right? Like
Oh yeah.
they're that's a Mount Rushmore who they have on their
Hmm.
training staff between Charlie, Blake, Justin, and John.
Yeah.
So if something like that were to happen, I would feel a lot better if it came from them and not from Mr. Avery and Patrick Dennison, you
Right.
know, if that
Right.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. But that's where I think where it kind of is coming from. If you kind of think about it, I mean, because like you said, the installers, we're the ones in the trenches, we're the ones doing this.
Hmm.
The problem is trying to get everybody to get on board.
Yeah,
But the only way that everybody's get on board is, like you said, if the manufacturers adopt what the
totally.
installers are talking about. It's that vernacular. Or if there, and there's not some kind of like governing board or
Right.
anything like that. You
Yeah,
don't have to be licensed to put a sticker on something. You don't have to
totally.
get, a degree or anything
Hmm.
like that. You're not gonna, we're not gonna lose our license for doing a bad rap on a car.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like
totally.
there is nothing like that. It's not, you know, we're not doctors, we're not lawyers. We're not gonna lose anything if
Yeah,
if
there's
we
no
absolutely
malpractice suit.
suck. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I don't think it should go that far. I absolutely don't. I think, I got into vinyl years ago and from the sign industry, like you mentioned, like so many people did. That's where
Yep.
I started. I started as a graphic designer in a sign shop, and my very first job for 8 hours was weeding and masking handicap signs
That sounds like a
from
perfect first
sign
job
vinyl.
for someone in a sign shop, you
That
know?
was it. Like it was literally 8 hours of that, and the next day they moved me on to something else because, hey, you did good with this. Let's move you on. And then
Yeah.
eventually we got to wrapping cars. Um, but like I don't even know where I was going with this. But yeah, it's not gonna change. Like we're not gonna. This isn't life or death. That's why I always
Hmm.
tell people, hey man, like it's okay if you mess up. No one's gonna die. It's
Yeah.
just stickers.
Yeah.
Like it's okay. It's not that serious. We have fun. If it doesn't work out, pull it off, grab a new piece, start over.
Right.
Um, so yeah, that's again the whole standardization thing. Like I'm a proponent for it. I don't think it's ever going to happen when it comes to process, like exactly, because again, A to B, all the different steps.
Yep.
Um, if anything, it closer with paint protection film when you're using templates and things like that, because there are certain ways you have to like line up and
There's
things like that.
literally one, two, three, four, right?
Exactly.
Like it is,
Exactly.
they do kind of paint by numbers on that a little bit, but
Exactly.
you know, 9 times out of 10, it's not what I'm doing. You know,
Right.
I'm
Right.
deleting stuff, I'm wrapping stuff and I'm going to my own way. But
Right.
I
Or you're
wonder
expanding edges. Yeah.
exactly. But I wonder what to play devil's advocate to that point, because we are both kind of on the same team. Like, yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to see that happen, of course. What problem is it solving? You know,
Hmm.
because I've and you, we've communicated with installers not just in different states, but different countries. And, you know, I've trained people who spoke literally no English, but we both spoke vinyl.
Yes.
There's th-
Absolutely.
there's an excellent trainer and installer, tallest rapper alive, Matt Walensky, and
Hmm.
he introduced this concept into my brain one day. I went up to see him in New York, and there was a guy there from Ukraine, spoke no English.
Okay.
And I asked him, like, how are you overcoming that? Because he was showing him how to palm in a quarter panel on a Camaro. That's a
Oh
deep
yeah, that
palm,
quarter. Yep.
man.
Yep.
That's a deep one. And I said, how are you explaining that? He was like, it's okay. I'm not going to do his accent because I just couldn't do it justice, but it's a big New York accent. He's like, it's okay, man. We both speak final and it's fine. And I watched him do it, and goddamn, if he wasn't right, you know? So by not standardizing, I still don't think we are losing anything because you and I speak final.
Hmm.
And I may call it positive tension. You may call it pulling on a body line or a character line or whatever, but we both know. No, you know what I'm talking about. I'm going to tack it up on the A pillar and I'm going to pull it towards the headlight. That's positive tension.
Right.
Oh, I call that this. Okay, cool. On to the next thing.
Yeah.
So I wonder what problem it would solve.
Yeah. That's no, that makes a lot of sense because I don't know if it would solve any problem other than
Hmm.
the fact that it would educate those who don't have the knowledge yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that would be probably the biggest thing. Someone who is starting, who's like,
Hmm.
I need to get into this, I need to, know the terms, or again, like I can go to a site and I can watch a video and then know that they're, whatever the video is, they're talking about X. So when I see it in the wild,
Hmm.
quote unquote, the wild, I know exactly what's going on. I know
Yeah.
what's
You
being
know he
talked
just
about.
goosed that vinyl.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I
Right.
know he's zero stretching. I know he's, whatever it may be. I know he's seeing not the triangles, but now he's seeing pyramids.
Pyramids. Exactly, man.
And
Pyramid stretching. Yep.
yeah, I tried to explain that to someone a couple weeks ago, and it took me a little bit longer than it should have. But I was just like, just look, it's going this way. It's but
Yeah.
eventually you guys are just like, oh, I just never heard anybody call it
But that's a big difference between doing something because
that. Hmm.
I understood pyramids because I wasn't training about anybody at the time and I'm wrapping an A pillar and I got, oh, okay, that's why they call it a pyramid. But then I had to try to explain that to somebody. And
Hmm.
that's like explaining interpretive dance. It's like those are two totally different parts of my brain, man.
Yeah.
My hands, I just understand because I've built that relationship. I get what they want to do. I'm reading the wrinkles. I know it. Okay, now I have to explain this to a guy who's got 90 days worth of rapping. And I'm
Hmm.
like, man, you know, I don't, okay, let, how do you do it? You don't. I got stuck and it took me a while before the neurons in my brain said, here's what you're doing. Here's how to explain what you're doing, you know?
Yeah.
I can never describe what love is, but fuck if I don't know what love is,
Right.
but it's hard. So I think it could also be a little dangerous because I don't want imposters out there. That's me
Hmm.
being, you know, egotistical maybe, but I don't want a guy walking in and being able to bluff his way through.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and
Well, and that's something that's really hard in our industry
mhm,
because, and I've said it before, a lot of people have, you can't fake the squeegee time.
absolutely.
You can't fake the install. You can't like, and you could be the fastest rapper out there, but when you go to take the vinyl off, did you cut the paint? Like, you know what I'm
Totally.
saying? Like, how are your knife skills?
Totally.
Yeah, you can't fake that
Yeah.
stuff
How
at
much pro
all.
bond or no bond is on
Yes,
is
exactly,
this just liquid
exactly.
courage to shit? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's something like, God, I mean, the past few years, like I've worked with people like, when you're doing commercial stuff all the time and they're like, oh,
Hmm.
this needs to be on there for 7 years. They're just painting the shit out of them. Like, what are you doing? Just install it right. It'll still be
Yeah.
fine.
Totally. Totally. Is it a problem with your prep or is it a
Yeah,
problem with your technique?
exactly. Are you overstretching or, what are you doing? Like it'll be fine. Just install it properly, prep it
Yeah.
properly,
Prep
do
it right.
everything do what you're supposed to do and do it right.
Yeah.
You won't have a problem.
And now imagine if we had 50 to 60 beginners every year learning that mindset, learning about PMA, angry installers install angry vinyl, step back, learning what
Hmm.
option paralysis is, what analysis paralysis is. You just stand there looking at it, expecting it to talk to you. It's not gonna.
Yeah.
Vinyl is stupid. It does not know what you want it to do. It doesn't know what to do. The only way that vinyl works is when you give it intention, is when
Hmm.
you manipulate it. So I see new guys all the time just standing around like humming and hawing and this stuff, rehearsing it like they're going bouldering in the Olympics. And it's like, man, just get in there and stick
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Be what it wants to do?
Yeah. I get the I get the like I have we have guys that have been installing for a few years, and again it's mostly the same kind of stuff, but every now and again it'll be on like a different piece of equipment or
Hmm.
whatever, and they'll be like, and they'll get it like, well, I don't know how to do that, I've never done that before. How long have you been installing? Like a year and a half? Oh, so take what you know
Yep.
and apply it to this new thing. It's not difficult. If there's an obstruction that you need to go around, you know to do the high points first. If there's a recessed area, you're going to have to inlay it, or you're going to have to feed it
You got to
into
feed
the
that
mouth.
mouth.
Like
Yeah.
you're going to have to do the hard stuff first, the easy stuff last, but don't pull one direction and then cut perpendicular to it, because it's going to automatically bottle cap immediately. Like
Yep.
you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But they get so caught up in their head, like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this before and I don't know what to do. So I'm not going to touch it because I don't want to make a mistake.
Yeah. Yep. That brings it right back around to
Yeah.
why a Lamborghini is no different than a Honda Odyssey,
Yeah.
because it's just a shape. And
Yep.
just look at it from a planar perspective, man. That's just a shape. That's a recess. You feed that, you inlay that, you understand it. But there is no shaking the fact that you grew up with an Aventador on a poster on your wall, and you're
Hmm.
letting the vehicle dictate, well, look at it. It's a
Yeah.
Lamborghini. It's got to be hard. Brother, I'm telling you that the the clamshell on a Mini Cooper, wrap a Mini Cooper side mirror and tell me that there's anything harder on a Lamborghini than that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
yeah,
Dude. All right. We've been going for about an hour.
great. It
So
doesn't feel like that, which
all, no, it
means this is
doesn't.
a great conversation.
Yeah, it doesn't. So, but I'm gonna have to run very soon. I'm gonna go up and make sure the girls are taking care of dinner.
Great.
And then so I have a 13-year-old and a 7-year-old, and I said, you guys have to start dinner tonight. I will come up and help you finish it. We'll do it before mom gets home. So
Awesome.
that's
Well,
where we're
get
at.
to that. Please get to
But
that.
before we leave, so I haven't done this the past couple, but since you're an actual installer
Yep,
and like doing, so I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. I just went off the cuff. So I call
you
it time
got
to
it.
get torched.
Let's do it. Rapid fire. I'm with it.
All right. So what's your favorite brand of film to work with?
3M.
Okay. Color change and printable.
Yes, 3M IJ 2080 and IJ 35C for printable.
Uh,
Those are my two favorites.
all right. Favorite squeegee buffer combo.
Oh my God. Uh, it is the Yellow Tools Dragon. And right now, because we always change, the one I'm using right now is actually no buffer. I'm using PTFE tape on one side,
Okay.
and I have the new wrap glove squeegee sock, the pillowcase on it right
Okay.
now. That's what I'm experimenting now. Typically, it's an off wrap double buffer stitched,
Okay. Nice.
medium shore value.
Yeah. Perfect. Knife and blade breaker.
Knife is the NT red dot standard. I don't like
Okay.
the pro with the interchangeable, I like the thin profile.
Gotcha.
Blades are the Yellow Tools Titan blades, and the blade breaker is the Yellow Tools HD.
Nice. Heat gun or torch.
Heat gun all day long.
Okay. Ever use a torch? Are you a
Of
torch at
course, I've
all?
absolutely commercial. I'm using a torch all day long. I like the control of the heat gun, and yeah, for color change, it's just a lot easier,
Yeah.
more
Agreed.
consistent.
Agreed. You reading anything interesting right now?
Tons of interesting stuff. Right now, I'm reading The Power of Moments,
Okay.
and that's just all about how to create these phenomenal visceral moments in everyday life, but then to translate that in for your clients. And I just started reading The Lean Way, I think. It's
The Lean Deal.
The Lean Deal. Thank you
I'm
very
reading that
much.
right now. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if you're going to be in the book club, but I'll see you there. But that's why I'm reading it for the Rap IQ book club.
Okay. Oh, did they start that? See, so I grabbed it a while back because for whatever reason I thought that we were going to do that one next, but then it
Same.
was the three simple
CEO
rules or
does three
CEO thing or
things.
whatever. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
was like, well, I totally missed that.
Yeah.
So I kind of like have done a hiatus. I'm like, I've read a little bit of it, and now I need to start reading it more because the book club and all that good
Yeah.
stuff. So
I have my Lean Six Sigma, so
yeah.
anything Lean Kaizen, I'll just consume it.
Mhm.
But the power of moments, phenomenal.
Good
Get
read.
it? Incredible.
Perfect. What's your when you're actually installing
Mhm.
and you need to get into a zone, what are you listening to?
Jazz. I'm a music
Okay.
theory and composition major. I was supposed to be a music teacher. Jazz is my discipline. I'm a jazz drummer. So it is either Coltrane's Birth of Cool, it is Miles Davis' Bitches Brew, or it is Dream Theater, Scenes from a Memory, or Pantera Far Beyond Driven. It just depends. If I
Okay.
walk in on a Monday, it's Pantera.
Something to
If
get you going.
Yeah,
I gotcha. Gotcha. Perfect. Sweet. That's it, man.
dude,
Did I
what a
did I
great time.
I didn't hurt, did it?
It did, but that's why I liked it, Bryce.
Jesus.
No, this was great, man.
Great.
Really. Thank you so much. What a
No.
casual conversation, dude.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, tell everyone where they can find you, and if there's any, special projects or anything coming up, of course, don't forget to mention where people can register for Race Ready,
Yep.
and then where to find your shop and kind of what you guys do just to wrap things up.
Yep. So Exotic Vehicle Wraps is in Sterling, Virginia. You can find us at exoticvehiclewraps.com, on Instagram at Exotic Vehicle Wraps, same with TikTok and YouTube. For Race Ready, you can get there through the EVW website, or you can go to racereadytraining.com and you can sign up. We're almost sold out for the March class and almost sold out for the April advanced class. So there are still spaces available. There's only 10 seats for those classes with three trainers. So it's not one trainer for 10 students, it's three trainers, and each has only three students. So
That's awesome.
they're nice and small and condensed.
That's awesome. That's sweet. All right. Perfect. That's it, man.
You're the best, dude. What a
We'll get
pleasure to
out of
talk
here.
to you. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming on. I mean, totally totally all the gratitude is on this side of the table for sure. Pleasure was mine. I'm so glad that you sent the email, and I look forward to seeing you at trade shows and everything like that
You're gonna see
in
me.
months to
Now that you've
come.
seen me once, dude, you're never gonna get rid of me.
Oh God, maybe I
Sorry.
don't.
Go go eat your daughter's dinner.
Yeah.
Enjoy. Spend time with the family. We'll talk later, man.
All right, man. I appreciate it again.
Of course, my
All right, have a
pleasure.
good one. All
You
right,
too, brother. Good
see
night.
ya.